IVM.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys.
Hi and welcome to Know Your Kanoon. This is Amar from Rana Ventures and welcome to another episode of Know Your Kanoon, as I say. And this is the best platform to get to know about all the laws that are affecting this beautiful nation. And today I have someone very interesting from the LGBT community. And instead of doing it in Pride Month, we're doing it now because Pride Month does not mean that on the 30th you start changing your flags and your colors and from 1st of July it's the same. We want to continue the spirit and showcase that we stand with the community throughout the year. And as a trainer and having worked with the community a bit, maybe a little bit, I would say, I have the most amazing Suresh Ramdas with me. And he will introduce himself because we cannot do justice to his accomplishments. And today where he is. So Suresh, please go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience, please.
All right. So you're giving me an opportunity to become an official narcissist, right? So that is okay. All right. So, well, I will go ahead with that. Hello, everyone. My name is Suresh Ramdas. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And like he said, yes, I've been in the corporate organization, the corporate world for the last 16 plus years. And it's been an amazing journey in this organization that I've started off right from scratch. Along with that, yes, I'm an out and proud gay man. And for me, I think I take great privilege, and I'm humbled also with the fact that there's been a lot of support and a lot of encouragement given to me by my family members, my friends, my colleagues, and around the world as well. So I do a little bit of work around the LGBTQ plus inclusion in the corporate space. And I'm working more than ever before to, get the trans community in the corporate space as well. This is something that I'm super, super passionate about. And also I was part of, a program called Leading with Pride, which was to go ahead and look at future leaders from the LGBTQ plus community in the corporate space, because all this while we just keep looking at people from the West.
Right.
And I think it's time for us to bring in, homegrown people, CEOs, directors, VPs, anybody. So we're kind of doing that program and it's taking a great shape. So that's a little bit about me. So let's go on.
No, absolutely, Suresh. Such a pleasure to have you. I haven't had really great representation. And, because of this reason that whenever I get somebody, either they're not able to explain the concept very well, or they're not able to explain the idea behind doing something, the idea behind the word pride, because it is much more than just a few letters. It is about human rights. It's about constitutional rights. It's just about that accepting another human being.
Exactly right.
And that's how, and I'm going to talk about behaviors and cultures and how, this segregation and discrimination affects a person mentally. Also, from a legal perspective, how it destroys your own will to be recognized as a citizen in a country where, you feel everything is normal around you, but it's actually not normal. So we'll continue with this, Suresh, and thank you so much for being here with us. And let's start. And let me start bombarding you because you're knowledgeable beyond our levels. And I think maybe you can enlighten us a lot of things. All right. So point number one, as I say, agenda number one, Suresh, I have had some experience in corporate training as part of my firm's initiative. We started doing this. People started calling me that, you are doing LGBT because you want to track attraction, you want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I said, as a lawyer, I don't believe that in a country which is so narrow-minded, I will get positive attraction from this. But I said, as at least a human being, I feel this is one area of law which is left totally into the dark.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm actually wrong, but when we were training a senior board somewhere in an organization, I'll not name them because they can file a lawsuit and I'll have to go through the process and get it quashed and everything, and they'll waste their money. But again, who wants to get into that during COVID? But they were severely regressed from realizing that how they are saying they're supporting the pride concept. And I'm going to talk about the pride concept because corporates think of it as a concept, not as a way of emancipation for somebody to talk about themselves. And me and my spouse, we were training and we showcased a picture of a man dressed in a sari doing some work. And I had very, very strong condemnation coming from the board that what kind of a trainer are you that you have put such a photo and you expect us to believe that in a corporate setup this can happen. So my whole, of course, I being temperamental from this part of the region of the world called Haryana. So I got up and told the chap, I said, excuse me, for these 40 minutes we are training you and this is reality. And I think orientation of a being has got nothing to do with his professional courtesy and what he's trying to do there.
Right.
But that kind of put them off in a very, very bad way. And some people stormed off. And I said, oh, hell with it. We don't really care. I said, as long as the reality is in check. And that gentleman was generating a huge revenue for the company where he was working for, dressed in a sari. So I asked the corporate head, structure and head, is this what you are looking at? Are you looking at financial gains or are you only looking people's image into place? If that is so, then I think a corporate shouldn't have a dress code for men and women both. So what do you have to say about this to start with, Suresh? It's a long conversation I give you.
It is a long conversation. Yes, I think I need to break this out into multiple small sections.
Yes.
Now, with Pride Month, yes, there is a lot of conversations as to how can we really put our representation out there.
Right.
But are they really being inclusive? Are they really being diverse?
Right.
Let's be honest. People who are in the corporate space are from this country, right? And this country is homophobic.
Absolutely.
We like it or not, right?
Absolutely.
Whether we like it or not, it is homophobic. So these are the same people in this country who are going to offices, in AC rooms and all of that. And probably, having conversations with other people across the world, but still the mindset is still there like, oh, LGBTQ, not against against our Indian culture. They are not supposed to be legal. They are, it's a choice that they really make and all of that. So we have to make that conscious effort to engage and, bring more awareness, like how you did. That person, whoever that person is, they're going ahead and delivering you with what is required, irrespective of who they are.
Absolutely.
Their talent and their focus is what you really look for, and what are they bringing onto the table to make one's business better.
Absolutely.
Whether they wear sari, whether they wear short skirts and all of that, that is immaterial. That is again other representation or a presentation. But it is essential because the person is able to give their level best is because of the reason why they're able to be themselves.
Absolutely.
And present themselves the way they prefer.
Absolutely.
So with that coming into picture, I think that really goes. With regarding to thought process, again, I love having this conversation with people when they say it is against our Indian culture.
Yes.
Because it's a Western concept. So all I have to tell people, is yes, it is a Western concept which was brought by the Britishers in the form of Section 377 and various other discriminatory thought processes that they came into picture.
Right.
Before Britishers came in, yes, we had our own issues of caste and religion, but we lived together. We were able to be together in various forms, though there were issues, no doubt. But people were not said, you cannot be this. The Hijra community was very much there in the north. The Kotis, Arvanis, all of them were very much there down south. So where is this thought process that it is against our Indian culture? I always have to tell people, chalo, I will go ahead and give you a one-way ticket to Khajuraho temple, then come back and tell me who did this. Was it Britishers or was it our Indian culture and prehistoric?
And Suresh, I'd like to come in and tell you, this is how I take people through. Because if you trace the history, it was against the church for people to work or have similar relationship in same sex.
Yeah.
And that is the reason when the British came in India in early 1870s, they came out with acts to banish same sex relationships or associations because it was against Christianity at that point of time, with the whole notion in India was totally accepting of this before this. We've had representatives in all the rulers that have been here in this country. And there are scriptures, there are written documents which showcase them holding higher places in society than what they are being subjugated to today.
True.
So legally speaking, it was only the act. and I'm forgetting the name of the act, which used to criticize and banish people. And under 377, we have that whole nonsense of the outdated IPC, because they wanted to colonize and rule, with, of course, religion being one of the reasons they want to propagate in the country, which we have not been able to erode and actually come back and believe in what our ancestors used to live with. It was not like this, as you rightly said, legally speaking, because there was an absence of knowledge as to how this act came in, and we never cared. I mean, India has never been sensitive towards anybody. If you're in the masses, it's okay. If you're a minority, sadly speaking, you're never included into the whole concept.
Right.
We have had absence of statutes, laws, sections uplifting the society. Otherwise, there is a section for everybody in this world.
Yeah.
Barring the only minority, all minorities have their own set of laws and distinct ways of representation.
Exactly.
Why is it that you don't believe in the LGBTQIA plus community, that they can have their rights? So I rightly agree with you that this is a major challenge. Coming to corporates, as you said, and my experiences in this have been different. That people say, sir, but it is a disease that spreads. Now, I've heard these kind of things as well. It's a disease that spreads. Now, to my knowledge, the person talking was a disease. But if you can generalize somebody by saying that, just because your orientation is such, it's a disease, that shows the lack of imbibing ground principles in our population at earlier stages of life, lack of awareness towards orientation, mental health, law, so many things. People believe just because they've graduated and done their college, they're educated and they're literate and they have the knowledge of the world. And when you talk about women equality, you talk about equality of men, you talk about everything. There is no equality for this particular community. You're treating them as animals. Isn't that a true fact?
It's worse. It's worse than that, I feel, because at times even certain animals in India are celebrated and
yes, absolutely. And that is why I wanted to bring this up, because even they are celebrated, and somebody if comes out and says, I'm gay, and homophobic, you said a very right word. Boys and men here can shake hands, hug, run around, especially how Indian men chill, and they're cool with fist bumping, hugging, lying, boys playing with, But if you see someone with an orientation, I've had friends, because my wife is from the industry. I've seen her and her friends and designers, and I chill with them all the time. And I really never had. I don't think gay men are lecherous people who are looking to just hug onto you and catch onto you. The misconception people spread. They're the most intelligent lot that you can ever come across, because their energies have not been harbored till now.
Right.
And I'm going to come back to that with a lot of facts on paper, that how, when people talk about economics in India, how they contribute majorly to any given force, whether it's a corporate, whether it's a business venture, whether it is anything else. Suresh, so what would you have to say on this? Don't you believe that whatever I have just told you is just a small part? Of course, you've known the bigger picture. What would you have to say on this?
Well, I think, one thing I really want to call out is people in India, or majority of the world, I would say, especially the men, the cisgendered straight men.
Cisgender, yes.
The cisgendered straight men, I would say, anything that hits the masculinity thought process in them, who are in position and power and privilege, they are the ones who are really targeting, this whole community. And especially even in the community also, let me be honest, none of the straight people have ever said no to lesbian sex.
Yeah. That is so true.
Well, they enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, they enjoy. Chalo. I mean, it's like,
great.
It sounds very cheap. It sounds very cheap to say it's like buy one, get one free, or you one, you get another one free as well. But they enjoy and take good pleasure out of it. But then when it's two men holding hands,
it's a problem.
Getting intimate, or when there is a trans person, especially trans women, all of a sudden their ego, their masculinity takes a beating, and they say, no, this is wrong. This is incorrect. Right? Even to an extent, bisexuality is okay, acceptable. Why? Because the married men can fool around.
Yeah.
Again,
who
has created that acceptance? It is, again, the people in position, power, and privilege. That's why I like to keep calling it.
Absolutely.
So when two men, and then it also calls upon the fact that if they're effeminate, anywhere is linking towards femininity, that is completely disgusting. That is not right. If you look manly enough, but still, why are you gay? You don't look gay enough. You look very manly. Why do you want to go, have man or a boyfriend or anybody, why don't you think of figuring out, get married and then do whatever you have to do?
Generalization.
So there's a lot of patriarchy deeply rooted as well. And somewhere down the line, I feel this whole masculinity thing is tickling them up and it's, making them feel uncomfortable. So my take on that is people who are super homophobic are somewhere down the line scared of realizing that they may also be from the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somewhere. I'm not saying exactly.
Yeah.
Because anybody who is cisgendered straight person who loves who they are and accepts who they are and they know who they are fully have no issues with another man going out and holding another man or another man holding a man and a woman, whoever they are.
Right.
They just accept, all right, see, I'm straight, all right, great. And I know who I am. So I'm okay with other people going ahead and being themselves. They are somewhere down the line very uncomfortable. And then, chalo, I have to do something because if I eradicate this, then this is... So I feel it is more like they're scared of their own thought process out there and people realizing that. So they said, let's push this off completely.
And let's not even delve into it. It might just invoke our thought that we might believe that we are associated to people, so they don't want to explore. So you're scared somewhere to explore your own self, knowing what it is. So we're going to take a short break now, Suresh, and we're going to come back again. And once we are back, I'm going to have more discussion on the law front.
Yeah.
So catch you guys in a short break then.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Would like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Cred, Ciet, and Global Victoria. Thank you so much for making this possible. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by the hilarious and extremely charming illusionist and therapist Suhani Shah. They talk about different aspects of magic like sleight of hand, mind reading, mentalism, and more. The Habit Coach completed 500 episodes, 500, and Ashton has a special message for us on the occasion. Do check that out. We had Lekini Desai, founder of the India Ethnic Company, talk to Varun Digarala about their story and the Hatke marketing idea that made them popular. On Naan Curry, South Africa just celebrated World Chocolate Day. They took us through the origins, history, economics of chocolate, and shared their memories. On Tere Mere Raste, Keshav Chaturvedi shares an interesting story from Leh. Check out an updated version of the Traveling Professor's Diary. It's now rechristened as Smarter with Sid. Same old brain filled with new stories and insights. This time, listening to know why you should keep things simple. And finally, check out Global Victoria Tech Talks. This one is in partnership with Global Victoria, the trade arm of the Government of Victoria and Australia. The edtech and gaming industries are booming in Victoria, Australia, and this series is meant to showcase that. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Hey guys, welcome back to Know Your Kanoon. I'm in conversation with Suresh Ramdas and continuing our journey where we left it. So Suresh, I want to come back to the question and talk about the law side of things now, because I don't blame entirely the people. People are the reason why we are here today.
Right.
But law has also not done great wonders for us.
Sure.
And I think down south, the laws are still liberal. Up north, I haven't seen anything. I would say state laws, let's say,
yes,
in terms of documentation, I would say where people need assistance with passport, Aadhaar cards, state incentives for education at least. I've seen Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka have some changes that they're trying to imbibe and inculcate.
Right.
Even Delhi University tried to do some stuff, but practical challenges on legal fronts I want to bring to your forefront, and then we'll discuss, because you work openly with the community.
Mm-hmm.
I have had some clientele that suffered some losses because they changed their gender, and the passport could not be changed because they never believed that a person could change the gender. And every time that person went to the airport or was traveling overseas, they would have to go through that immigration check required area of, because of the reason that their documents had a different name on them at the time when they were of a different gender, and when they changed their gender, they've had this issue now coming in that people say, hey, you were a guy. How can you be a woman? Oh, you were a woman. How can you be a guy? And I don't believe your documentation says you're a male. So how, stuff like this, there is no law to help them. There is nothing. There's a judgment. If you take that piece of judgment everywhere, nobody cares.
Right.
You really have to fight yourself out. Ki Supreme Court judgment ka main kya karu? What do I do with this? How do I prove it? And there are people who don't realize. Number two, such kind of problems where you maybe want your educational documents to be changed, the CBSE does not allow you to change them if it's been over, I think, 7 or 8 years after you've graduated, if I'm not wrong, or maybe 10 years. And then it's permanent. You can't really shift that. Now, what does one do in a country like this, where your education documents can't prove your identity, let alone Aadhaar, passport, and other such things, including driver's license? What is your experience been on the law side with this?
Well, I personally don't have any experience, but I can talk about the experiences that a lot of trans people have gone through.
Yes.
So I want to kind of, call out the fact that most of the trans people, majority of the trans people, haven't gone through CBSE schooling. So I think in one ways it is okay. But it is a point that needs to be called out and really be addressed. That looks like it is more like a central issue rather than a state issue, right? Because if you can't really change that, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Here you have a lot of trans people who have not taken, they don't have formal education.
Yeah, formal education, absolutely.
And the ones who have now somehow have managed to get that because they have studied in state syllabus. So there is an opportunity, or there is an option for them to go ahead and get a change. Again, depending, like how you said, depending on state to state. Maybe in South it's a little more, easy, but it's not easy.
So that easy. Yes, of course. It's not smooth.
But compared to North and South, I think there is some differentiation out there. But it is so difficult. Name change.
I agree with you.
Forget about name change. I think even the current 2019 Transgender Act that has come in is, I think, it is so discriminatory in its own ways.
It's discriminatory in a lot of ways.
It's like it takes away the dignity of that person for being who they are.
Correct.
And standing in front, I need to tell this because, it is kind of a little bit of, you are frustrated, you are angry.
Of course.
But at the same time, it's emotional because you need to tell people, stand in front of a couple of them.
Absolutely.
And tell them that, hey, I'm a trans person. And they will not just go by that. You have to strip down
and prove.
No clothes.
Yes.
Prove that you are a trans person by you undergoing the operation. And if you haven't, sorry, you're not eligible for this.
And that showcases the mindset.
It's not even the mindset also. There are cases where I have heard stories from trans people that they have been,
violated. Of course. Yeah, I know that.
In a lot of ways, be it like, everybody knows how trans people they either beg or they do sex job.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
They ask for favors. And why would somebody just for a certificate go do that? So that's why you see a lot of trans people
being abused.
Scared to even go get that certificate from these people because they have to, or maybe go through this sort of discrimination. And because of this, they don't get the legal documents. And because they don't get the legal documents, they don't get issued or they don't get the subsidy that the governments provide. Especially at this time during the COVID pandemic as well. There were so many trans people who didn't get their livelihood rationed on a regular basis because they don't have those IDs. They are not able to get the vaccination because they don't have the IDs. Everything works on Aadhaar. But for trans people, and now even more top it off, if they apply for it, they said, sorry, it is going to take time. We have other things to be looking at. So these certificates or these IDs are not our priority, so come back later. So where are these people going to really turn towards?
Absolutely.
And then they come back and say, oh, you have 2 hands, you have 2 legs, you are an abled person. Why can't you do a job?
Correct. That's another challenge.
And who's giving them a job right now?
Yes, who's giving them? Nobody's giving them a job.
Nobody wants to give them a job because they're on the streets. They don't know the corporate lingo. And they behave or dress a certain way. So that mindset is already there. And what are they capable of? Even for a job to probably come into somebody's house, they are scared. People are scared to do that. So
yes, absolutely. This is a valid point. When I was sensitizing a group on this, I asked them, I said, where you can start with is maybe start with a small responsibility of jobs and then look at how well they perform this. Mm-hmm. But the idea that I got to know from the board was that the thought of having such people roaming around amongst us, and the so-called us, the generous, the so blessed ones, is something that scared the hell out of me. At one point of time, you're looking at a situation where, you're saying, well, we have diversity programs, we believe in equality and blah, blah, blah. And you don't find, I have not seen a single trans person employed, and that's my limited knowledge, in a corporate working at a managerial level. And that's true that I don't know. I am not aware. I am very limited.
There are few, but I think, like gender.
I haven't.
I think like gender, like women don't have a lot of representation. So
representation.
There isn't much, but there are. And
I'm sure.
But it's very, very small compared. Negligible is what I would say.
I would say 1 in 100, I would say.
Yeah.
Not even a million.
More than that,
That's how,
and
And I'm talking about professional setups.
Yeah.
You look at big fours, you look at law firms, you look at, I can talk about creative spaces, yes, but I'm talking about formal professional spaces. Can someone come out and actually talk about their experience? No, they cannot. There is no labor code that helps them or secure that particular position. You have labor code for everyone else. You have this Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act that does not cover, it says man, woman.
Yeah.
There is not even man.
Not
it
even
says
men,
woman.
Only women.
Yeah.
It's only for women.
Even when you start interpreting it, what kind of a law is this? What about the others? What about the LGBT community? Because if they get harassed at workplace, where do they go? They don't stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean, right now there are no anti-discriminatory laws also
Nothing.
to protect anybody.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
we can be harassed, we can be thrown out, and there's nothing that
there's nothing at all
can really do. Yeah.
Yes, and when you come to that idea of where you say that there is a typical mindset, the saddest part is the most intelligent lot that I've interacted with, at least I can vouch for this from the LGBT community. There are people who are creative. They're sadly being labeled as only the ones who would enter into fashion, and why that is there. I've spoken to a lot of people, at least at my end, and they say, well, what is the option I have to express my talent? I'm harboring my energies to do something and I'm winning. The idea is, okay, tell me one of these things. Let's say 100 normal straight men want to be lawyers, and can you say all 100 are successful? No, you can't. No. 1 in 100. I can tell you 10 gay men out of 7 would say that they chose to be let's say designers or chose to be lawyers, and they will be successful because they're hardworking. They have this innate talent and perseverance to prove and be there.
Yeah.
Now, what India lacks is the ability to recognize. I'll talk in financial figures now. I had read somewhere that if all the LGBT community got together in the world, they would be the 4th largest democracy with the GDP. 4th largest GDP in the world. If you can't understand, and India loses roughly 1.9% of their GDP by not actually working with the community itself, which is producing. You see the level of the engagement we don't have. Godrej tried doing it.
Yeah, it's a big
isn't
money.
it stupid?
That's all. We have the buying capacity.
Yes.
I think for people to just understand the fact that, yes, we are from the LGBTQ plus community, majority of them don't want to have a family, right?
Yes.
So we have the power to go. I mean, I would.
Yes.
Power is again a strong word. I think we have the ability to spend all that we have and improve the economy, improve resources in various forms, because we really don't have anybody to really look forward to and say, oh, we need to save this money for somebody. We're going to utilize that on ourselves. And capitalize on that. And, if you're being inclusive, then talk about it. Then set up things. Walk your talk. Just don't walk.
Just don't walk.
And like how you said, Pride Month. Just don't start on 1st of June and then end on 30th of June. But I think for all the folks in India, I think you all need to do it twice, because September is also kind of coming as a Pride Month. Because of Section 377 getting struck off. So I'm telling people, hey, you know what? We need India's Pride Month. And, this is the second opportunity for us to celebrate. So, think about it again, if you all want to start doing that from an India perspective. So we have the capacity, invest in us. We are giving back in various forms. And homosexuality, or again, going back to basics, homosexuality is there in the entire animal kingdom.
Absolutely.
Basics, as I say, if you talk about penguins also, this is the easiest thing to go talk about penguins. There are gay couples and they kind of take the eggs or the babies of, the ones that are left, and they take it up and they bring it as their own child.
And that kind of showcases that, where humanity comes into picture. You don't have to really think about things. And why I brought the commercial aspect out of it, capitalism, India talks about business. Indian men talk about business. Let's be business oriented. Let's bring money. It's big corporates are about business. Well, there's a business opportunity, but you never thought of correlating to it. And you're ending up losing millions and millions by hiring people who are actually not fit to serve that position. You might just have somebody who might do wonders for you. I've had some studies on this, that, how Subaru, the Japanese brand, went ahead and was pro-LGBT in one of their car launches, and they saw a 10% increase in sales. Nivea has done that. Brook Bond, again, huge. You see Mintra going ahead with this and scoring huge.
Right.
You have Godrej, you have everybody possibly that you can think of who's gone this way and scored. And I had a very interesting story to talk about where a wealth management company had actually chosen to their bosses said, well, why don't you just treat these 10, 15, 20 clients who are from the community to just treat them nicely and raise about 10, 15 or 20 million in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do so, we will reward you with these prices because we haven't been able to get them to invest this much. And these bunch of employees were really nice and appreciated them for who they were from a business perspective and giving them identity, reputation as well. And you would not believe they raised 45 million just with these individuals. And that shows that everybody is waiting for that recognition to happen. And if a corporate can realize that, I think India being this whole so-called business chant that we have, why are we leaving it behind? And, leaving it in a big way. And these are parameters which each of the corporates should actually look at when they say that, hey, we are inclusive. Just by painting your walls in rainbow doesn't mean you're actually being inclusive, right?
Well, there is a lot of these conversations around the fact that let's, paint it pink and, rainbow and, do all the right things.
Yeah.
But, they kind of fail to realize that around 13% of the population is from the LGBTQ plus community.
More than that,
means
I would
your
say.
company already has LGBT plus people in your organization. And if you are not doing the right things, then you need to figure out, you just can't go putting out a rainbow flag and say we are inclusive while, the environment is really not safe. And worse than that, people are now going in and saying, I want to hire LGBTQ plus people and I want to showcase to the world that we are inclusive. But I'm like, hold on. What are you doing for the people who are there in your organization? Why are they not comfortable being themselves in the organization, for which you need to go hire somebody out and proud and then showcase, hey, we have hired. So again, I feel it's again putting a checkbox and saying, hey, yes, we have met this target of, D&I or diversity, equity and inclusion factor, saying that we've hired. Now, I understand with, lesbian, gay, bisexual people, trans people, you need to go out and you need to hire. And they do not have the skill set.
Yes.
You need to take them on the level that they are and start building their skill and then growing and making sure that they have a career plan. It's not that they're going to be stuck in that same level. No, that is not called your inclusion. You should start really hoping and working towards making sure that their career graph also grows up like every other employee. So what are the opportunities? What are the infrastructure that you provide for those employees to make their lives better?
No, and Suresh, I like to now, because we're going to close in next 15 minutes, you need to highlight and tell me what all policies you have felt like. I'm going to talk about medical policies in corporates that, we have copy pasted some Western concepts for the name and sake of it. We really don't help same-sex couples and with operations and with everything for transgenders. It's all bullshit that I've read in terms of it's on a piece of paper. There's a posh policy also on piece of paper, but hardly any percentage of corporates really know the operation of the particular policy in place. Your experience, since you train on D&I, what would you have to say on this? What would you tell these corporates in terms of certain policies? Maybe you can just cover the bullet points that these are some of the things that need to be done to make this place more inclusive and that, legally we can help with.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, what organizations really need to step in and do is have a language which is very inclusive.
Right.
You don't call out he, she, you call out employees, you call out teams, you call my team or whatever is that. Stop, calling them in the form of a binary gender. I think that itself is the first step of being inclusive.
Right.
Highlighting the fact that if you're putting out any policy, don't generalize it.
Correct.
Call out for those communities and groups that you really want to address, be it persons with disabilities, be it for women, be it with caste, be it with race. You put in race. India doesn't really work, but then can you customize it to your needs, to your, current location that you're in, and call out LGBTQ plus community people as well. You just don't say all sexual, all groups or all minority. I mean, all means what?
What? Exactly.
Who's the all? So call out and be specific in those as well. So like I said, gender neutral language is very, very important in all form of communication. Wherever you all are having communications, put it out there and you'll, walk the talk, even addressing another human being for who they are. That's why the whole language of pronouns has really come in as to what, as an individual, I want to be addressed a certain way.
Right.
As a third person as well.
Right.
Can you respect me and give me that dignity?
Right.
Because if I start calling you somebody else, how are you going to feel?
Exactly.
And especially a trans person, if you call them by their dead name. So dead name is nothing but the previous name that they had.
Name. Yes.
The name that they got by birth, and now they've called a different name. So if you call the dead name now, every now and then, how annoying and insulting is that?
Absolutely.
So start working on those languages. Now, with regarding to policies again, include anti-discriminatory policies in your organizations, and again, call it out for not only in the form of POSH. POSH is a government thing. So now include that when you're doing your trainings for your employees on a yearly basis or however times, include around the fact on LGBTQ plus community people as well. Because you have lesbian women, you have trans women also out there. Can you highlight that and call it out?
Right.
And you also have the whole intersectionality of persons with disabilities as well, right?
Right.
So how much inclusive can you really get? Do that in the wordings, in your policies. And for same-sex partner benefits, I believe that it should be any partner benefits, because now India government of the law has also gone ahead and recognized live-in relationships.
Yes, it has.
So even a straight person, two straight people, cisgendered people, if they want to be in a relationship, what really happens to them? They don't want to marry because they don't like the idea of marriage.
Which is correct.
So I think we need to bring in the fact of any partner relationships or all partner relationships, can be got into the fact of
they should be factored in.
It should be factored in. Then your gender reassignment surgery for the trans people, we need to go ahead and have that mentioned. And also, I think when you get all these policy changes, just don't keep it in a closet and say, okay, whoever's applicable, they will come and get to know. How will people get to know if your company has those policies?
They need to be displayed.
Are you talking about it? Are you telling your employees about it? Are you sending out particular communications around it? All this needs to be communicated. You can't expect an employee to go look for all the latest updates on policies. You all need to tell that as organizations, as HR people, right? And when you all have, when you're wanting to do something for the LGBT community, then walk the talk.
Absolutely.
Create employee resource groups, whoever it may be it an ally who stands for it, be it a leader who stands for it. Kick in and bring in those groups out there and start having those conversations. When you're wanting to do the right representation, then go out on the streets as well and look out, like how you have Black Lives Matter in the US and everybody is supporting the Black community out there and Black businesses. In India, also go ahead and start supporting, the minority community so that they can grow. Can you help them? When you have a Pride Month, how many of you all are going to any of the Pride businesses and I'm giving them the business?
Right.
Same for Women's Day. Go to women's groups and, bring business to them. This again helps encourage people. So I think it should be, from a policy and a framework perspective also is very important. Leaders have to be held accountable for walking the talk.
Yes.
Where does that fit in the policy? I think it's a form of a culture.
No, correct.
You all have KPIs for everything. Oh, we need to hire women.
Yeah.
Great. We need to hire persons with disability. Great. But how can we go ahead and say, don't put a KPI on how many out people are there in your organization?
Yeah.
It's a personal journey.
Whether
I want to come out or not is my personal decision. It is something like a mental health issue as well, where people don't want to talk about it.
Correct.
Because of the stigma associated with it. But I want to be accepted. I want to be included. It is about how comfortable your environment is.
Which is important.
To really, talk that. So I think, those are very important points.
Yes, and instead of being labeled, because of your orientation that, अरे सारे gay लड़के तो ऐसे होते हैं, and everybody is like this, and then that has caused damage. And some corporates come back and tell me, and Suresh, this is the point I wanted to tell them, was that, millennials now want to associate themselves with organizations globally.
Yes.
It's not only an India study, with organizations that are more inclusive or more accepting of views because they have more freedom than a traditional, I would say, a generation back people would have had in terms of knowing or understanding their whole emotions and feelings, which again is not a crime, by the way, but it's a criminal thing in India if somebody experiences a different kind of a feeling altogether. But as I'm talking, why we say the corporates need to bring it in, because I can understand from a government and a public policy thing, if there is a challenge, these private players, because they influence actually the majority of the educated population.
Yeah.
It's not the government. How many of us would actually be voting if I look at the true figures?
Yeah.
Rather than how many of us would be involved in a corporate meet and sit there and listen to your workplace employees all day, and that is why the importance is there. But there is a challenge to it, and this is the challenge that I wanted to talk about. That some people say, if you're gay, why do you need to show it? This is the problem that I face in India the most. अगर आप gay हैं तो आपको दिखाने की क्या जरूरत है? Why do you have to dress like this? Why do you have to behave? Why can't you behave normally?
Right.
Now my idea, and I'm very neutral with this because I understand human behavior. It's not about gay people generally. It's about anybody. If there is a minority, and this goes back to times when colonization was happening, there was a particular way of determining an identity which happened due to mental conditioning, which led to a certain situation. And this is debatable, highly debatable.
Right.
But people put it into perspective that, Papua New Guinea was a tribesman place, and why did this tribe behave in this way?
Yeah.
People start associating it, instead of realizing that maybe the conditioning, because it's not about gay men only. If I put you in a room for 8 months, like it happened in lockdown, and the normal people were behaving in a particular way, and that behavior was not normal behavior. So how do you expect generations of exploitation, and suddenly you expect people to behave in a particular way? Would you agree to that in some extent?
A lot, actually. And also, I just want to put out, it is pretty sad, but also I want to question, what's normal? Who defines normality?
What's normal? Exactly. Right? What's normality?
Who defines that? And I think going back to the question of, why gay people should scream out loud, put these pride flags behind and nara karo, I'm gay. But I want to ask all the straight people, so tum log Mangal Sutra kyun pehante ho? Why when you go ahead and showcase that you're married, with the tika, the ring, and then the Mangal Sutra, and then the chudas and all of that, and you go through that whole ceremony of showing off that you're getting married, just to go ahead and make out in the night, you'll have that entire one-day celebration, and you'll are dindoro petrifying also, no? That you're taking the procession out there and showing that you're straight people. While you all have problems when one day in a year, we come out and walk pride marches.
Yes.
When you all are having kids, when you all are able to have kids, you'll go ahead and celebrate that in the form of, all those,
absolutely,
whatever.
Yeah. All of the
celebrations, right?
Yeah.
So isn't that throwing heteronormativity at us and telling us that you're not capable of it? That is why we're throwing it at you.
And to add to that, if you have a baby boy, you have to be blessed by a trans person. That is the most important part, that you will say, "Arey, hijre ko bulaya kya? Usko blessing karna hai." So my idea is, in India, even with the corporates, just because we don't have homegrown companies, it's international brands that have these policies, that we have something of a sort happening. Otherwise, it's a business. It's a business being run. Don't you believe that training in India also is a business now? You are committed to a cause. I can totally see that. All right. We tried to do it, got a lot of bashing, and I realized nobody wants to associate with me because I'm not from the community, and I'm banging on my head everywhere trying to preach something. They're like, "Arey, you're trying to do this because I think you're trying to gain something," right? And then it gave us a bad name. Don't you think that it is so polarized that even genuinely someone doing an effort does not get a chance? And then again, people have made it a business. I know people do workshops for money. That's about it. That's the only idea. It's a good business transaction as well.
Yeah. I mean, now I think even LGBTQ also, if you look at it, has kind of become a business of its own for a lot of corporates also, to just showcase that, hey, you know what, we are in the business, we are in the journey, but are we really there? No, because we have connections and we are a small community.
Right.
And we're a 13% community, but we are very small and very close-knit in the fact that any information gets out in the wrong way, it goes. And everybody knows, negativity spreads like wildfire, while positivity takes time. You really have to put in a lot of effort. So if an organization really is homophobic, everybody knows, and nobody's going to, step into those organizations, and word of mouth, that's going to spread. And people who are allies are going to start talking about it to other people, saying that don't, go to this organization because of so and so reasons.
Correct.
And now people are being very vocal, be it on any of the social media platforms. They're calling it out. I think even on Pride months as well, a couple of years, I think since 2018, since the judgment really came in the next year, the amount of pride flags that, corporations really put out were humongous. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
But
when I question everybody, are you ready to hire trans people? Do you have any policies around that? No, we're still looking at it. And like 6 months to look, and then you all are still getting it. I understand it's a journey. Great.
Yeah, of course.
You want to do the right thing. This year, what's happening? Oh, it's all virtual. It's pandemic. So, we're trying to focus and regroup and understand everything. I'm like, fair enough. I'm still giving the benefit of doubt, but I know deep inside they don't give a rat's ass.
They don't give a rat's ass. And, and then the last closing point on this is even the HR policies, how selection is being done on resumes. If you express yourself as something else, the form would be thrown away. Forget this, we can't have this. And regionalism, imagine like this is something that I've faced a lot. Okay. You're from Northeast, number one. ऊपर से if you're from LGBT, then to you're finished.
Yeah.
अरे LGBT यहाँ के लोग तो ऐसे ही होते हैं.
Yeah.
अच्छा, he's from South. ये बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ा लिखा है, यहाँ के लोग ऐसे होते हैं. This bias coupled with non-informative stuff in your head, that also leads people to, I'm discouraged tomorrow to apply to an organization knowing that my CV will not be even seen on my merits. मेरे को पहले ही निकाल देंगे बस मेरा gender orientation पढ़ के, and I know.
Like that. I mean, let's make it a little more interesting. Let's make it a little more interesting. The last name gives out where you're from.
Yeah. That's the problem, right? अरे ये तो राणा है, अरे इसका ऐसा दिमाग होगा, अरे ये ऐसा है.
Something, it gives out.
And that's the problem.
And even the HRs themselves, though they talk and though, diversity, inclusion is from HR community and all of that as part of human resources, I think some of the most judgmental people are from there.
And they judge you instantly.
And they judge you like thoroughly, saying that, oh my God, you're from the community, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, I thought you all are there to help and solve our problems rather than now it looks like you all are creating more problems for us. So, but there are a lot of companies, I would say, I would have to call out and say that, yes, a lot of multinational companies are aping what, the parent company has done because it's branches. But we do have some Indian-bred companies also who are like the Tatas and the Godrej. Infosys has started, Wipro has started.
Yeah, huge.
Some
Wipro
of the big companies are starting the journey. Yes. But because I think everybody was hiding behind Section 377. Now it's been like, 3 years that it has been off, not even completely 3 years, right? So they are taking time. So I understand that there is this change that's going to happen. It's going to slow with the mindset that, the Britishers corrupted us for 200 years with that. So it'll take time. But I'm optimistic with the millennials because they are the ones who are changing the game, changing the narrative, because from a young age, they're already becoming globalized with interacting with people across the world in various forums, in various places, with their travel, education, all of that. They are becoming globalized. They understand what this is all about. They understand that I need to be respected for who I am as an individual. If I'm not getting that, then I'm going to go to another place. So even be it organizations or even in countries. If India is not the place, I'm going to go to a place where I'm going to felt or be included or being accepted.
Yeah, and that I like to bring now, it is that since we also help people with Canadian immigration, the amount of people from the community who wish to move there, because about 180 types of genders are recognized. And I've worked with some of the Canadians. It is a very diverse and inclusive, more than Americans, I would say.
Yeah.
They're so diverse and inclusive. Why would they not want to move? Why would Suresh not want to move? Of course, because he feels, if it's a choice, you're accepted. They have government representatives who are leading the diversity and inclusion banner on a political level as well. Forget even private players. In India, it's a huge deal. If you're in a corporate and doing this, they have representatives in UN, in WHO, everywhere who are spearing the cause. There is a diversity and inclusion minister to that effect.
Yeah.
And them being so racist, and how you call white people being racist, and at least they're trying to do it. If we call ourselves inclusive, I don't believe what we are. But Suresh, thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you. We had a great conversation, and we look forward to having more of you on the show, and keep seeking your precious time on these areas. And surely I'll be getting some mails, and I'll be forwarding them to you for more questions and answers.
Yeah, any questions, any comments, you can also share my Instagram, social media.
Suresh, go ahead. You can. Why don't you just give out your email there on the public? I think a lot of prospective people would want to get in touch with you. So guys, Suresh is here with us. He's going to give out his own email ID right now to us. Suresh, go ahead. What's your email ID?
Well, suresh.ramdas@gmail.com. And you can search on Instagram, Suresh, and you will find me even on LinkedIn and all of that. So do reach out, and more than happy to connect and help you all.
And that's a simple email ID. I remember it by heart now. And I also know the Instagram profile. So I'm going to be connecting with him, and you guys can follow me to be there. Thank you so much, Suresh. Wonderful chatting with you. Such a pleasure to have you on the show. I hope you had a great time.
Thank you so much, Amber, for calling me. Thank you. Thank you.
Whether you're an established sports person or a budding one, or simply a sports enthusiast, join us, Tanvi and Shlok.
We are two passionate pro badminton players talking policy, mindset, and everything sport.
So tune in to The Millennial Athlete every Monday.
Only on the IVM Podcast Network.
Trust us, it's gonna be lit.
From uncensored and unfiltered chats with the who's who of the entertainment industry, I, Siddharth Kannan, bring you a very hardcore chat show called Candid Kannan. Tune in every Friday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.